We'll call a meeting of the Cotton County Commission to order. This is the first meeting of the year, January 2nd. That being said, would Commissioner Van Dusen lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to bring anything to the commission this morning during the open so we can plan accordingly? I see no one, so that being said, a couple of housekeeping chores. If you have a cell phone, please mute it or turn it off, and if you do get a call during the meeting and you need to take it, please step out in the rotunda so you don't disrupt the meeting. Also, this meeting is being streamed live, so if you do address the commission, you will be being streamed, just so you'll be aware of that. All right.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
By Hatton, a second by Van Dusen. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Gable, Commissioner Gable is joining us via the telecommunications today, so we'll be asking for his votes on all matters, so we will be able to acknowledge his vote. So, Mr. Gable?
Vote aye.
We have an aye. All motion carries. Motion to approve the agenda for today.
Make that motion.
Have a
And
motion
to
by
approve the minutes.
Commissioner Hatton, a
It's the
second by Van
minutes.
Dusen.
We already did the agenda, Mr. Chair.
What's that?
We already did the agenda. It's to approve the minutes, which I approve as email.
This is for the minutes, Mr. Chair, and I would second her.
We already
Yeah.
did the, you
Oh,
said,
yeah. This is for the minutes. Any discussion? We have a motion, a second, to approve the December 27th minutes. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Commissioner Gable?
Mr. Chairman, I vote aye.
All right. Going on, item number 5, old business. Is there any old business that we need to finish up from 2017, as this is our first meeting of 2018? Any old business that we need to take care of? Cindy, nothing?
I have nothing, no.
All right, let's go on to number 5, and number 5 is a process that we have to go through to close out the books, and that's motion
Make a motion to adjourn.
to adjourn
Aye.
as a Cindy. Second by Commissioner Gable. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, Commissioner Gable. You got your vote. All right, I will turn the chair over to the auditor at this time.
Okay, at this time, we'll call for nominations for chairman and vice chairman for 2018, and this is not, you're not making a motion, you're making a nomination. So you would just say, I nominate whoever you want for chairman. So are there any nominations for chairman of the board for 2018?
I would nominate Myron Johnson for chairman.
Commissioner Van Dusen nominates Commissioner Johnson. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to cast a unanimous ballot for Commissioner. I need a motion and a second to appoint Commissioner Johnson as the 2018 chair.
I would make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no.
I vote
And,
aye.
okay, That motion has passed. It's now Chairman Johnson. You can call for nominations for vice chair.
And that's what I'll do, is the floor is open for nomination for vice chair.
I would nominate Brenda Hanton as vice chair.
We have a nomination by Commissioner Waterman for Brenda. Is there a second to that, or is there any more nominations? Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Again, then I would ask for a second to that motion, and
No, that was just a nomination. So now you need a motion
Yep.
and a second to appoint Brenda as vice chair.
a motion and a second to,
I would make the motion that we elect Brenda vice chair.
and we have a motion by Commissioner Waterman,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Van Duzen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Commissioner Gable,
I vote aye.
unanimous, motion carries. Thank you for your support. All right, let's go on to monthly meetings. Let's start out with extension. Jody is here this morning. Good morning, Jody.
Morning, Joe.
Morning, Jody.
All right, good morning. All right, the first thing on the top of my list, I have to get down our tree. We had our 4-H tree down at the library today for the Watertown Community Foundation fundraiser. We'll later find out how much we have raised. I'll leave this Sunday as I'll be going to Strengthening Families training January 8th through the 10th in Sioux Falls, and this is part of a grant that's a statewide grant with other states. Iowa will be teaching us this program, and then we'll open it up at, we've usually held it at the middle school, so that's where we'll be hosting it again this year. I have been training that. We've done it for 7 years, but they've done some updates to the program, and this is a whole new grant for that. We'll have shooting sports safety training next Thursday, January 11th, and then our archery begins every Tuesday and Thursday night through April. So we'll be meeting every Tuesday and Thursday night in the CAD auditorium down there and get that started. And then I'll have Clover Buds, and then we're working on Farm Show for prep for this month. We've already had a Farm Show meeting, getting out bids to our local grocery stores, and it'll be here before you know it. February 6th through the 10th is our Farm Show. So, and then eventually I'll be starting an after-school program, a financial literacy program at the Boys and Girls Club. So working on that too. So.
Just one question, Jody. Did you schedule the weather for the February 6th through the 10th?
No, not yet. I hope it's not like this.
Better get right on that.
Hopefully we'll get through it in January and not have it in February. So, anything else?
Any other questions?
Jody, will you have any 4-H promotion and expansion committee?
I forgot to email it to you. I'll have to work on, finish that up and get it sent to you.
Okay.
Because it's one of those fillable forms, so I have to maybe even fax it to you.
Okay.
Because
We
it doesn't
have
let me
we
save
have a
it.
copy of one here.
Yeah, the copy that's in your packet is from
It's
the
the-
most recent.
Yeah, that was last year's, so I think I had to.
No, actually, no, I don't think I had that.
Oh,
I did not have the 4-H and promotion.
We talked about it at our promotion expansion committee meeting, so I
Yep.
just have to insert the names and
Okay.
verify the non-4-H if Kyle will stay on another term. so.
Okay, yeah, we'll need to take action on that when you
Okay.
determine who those
You'll
committee members are.
Okay, I'll
send
do
that
that.
to Cindy when you get it, okay?
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jody.
All right, Veterans, Al's not here.
Al is not here today, so we will not have a report from him.
Okay, let's go on then to weeds. Steve is here, though. Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning. Cindy, we're not being technical today.
Good,
How about
that's good.
Just to turn around, in fact, there's really probably not much going on. Ordered to pick up last week. They said probably 6 to 8 weeks for that to come. This coming month, we'll be attending some recertifications, the Farm Show Weed Booth down in Sioux Falls. And then in February, also some recertifications going on that month. And of course, Farm Show. We'll work the booth then also the Farm Show. Usually I'm set on Saturday to work that because I'm local, so And then the conference will be the following week in Rapid City. And that is, we'll head out on the 13th, and that is the 14th, 15th, and 16th. And also during the conference, I had mentioned before that for about training for the data logger, we have set up that we're going to go and do some training there at the conference. It would have been nicer kind of having it probably over this way, because then we could add a few more people involved with that, but this probably works better for everybody and for those guys out there to help train. And then also the last Wednesday of February, it's up the 28th, will be the Weed and Pest and Townsend Township annual meeting with a soup supper, and we'll start at 6.
What day is that?
The 28th of February. Soup will start at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Anybody have a preference besides oyster stew?
What we have last week? Last year?
Usually I have Wisconsin cheese soup
That's good.
and also vegetable beef.
If I had my choice, it'd be chili, but
Well, you know, we could do that too. I mean, we could
Chili is-
switch to chili instead of vegetable beef also.
Wisconsin cheese, that's good too.
But I mean, you have to understand also, you know, we're in Lent time then also, so I don't know if
Yeah.
it does make some difference for some people. Also,
Not on Wednesday,
yes, it is on Wednesday.
unless it's Ash Wednesday.
Well, Ash Wednesday this year is on the 14th.
So you would be fine to serve meat on any other Wednesday. Right, Troy?
That's a good idea. So think about those things.
Cindy, you want extra stew?
I know, I will be bowling.
Well, it is good. It is good to think about it. You're normally doing, what, 2 oysters?
Oysters,
And
or
2?
Wisconsin cheese and vegetable beef. But I could switch it to chili instead of vegetable beef too. That'd
You
be
know
a
what,
different
Steve,
change.
we'll leave it up to you.
All right.
And I'll tell you
Spend a half hour
what,
talking
whatever you
about this.
serve, we'll eat.
Okay.
You can be
All
sure
right.
of that.
Just don't forget the crackers.
Yeah. All right,
That's
thank
pretty
you.
well it. so.
Stay warm, Steve.
All right.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Welfare. Sarah, we have a written report in the packet as well. Is this what you're going to use, the one that we have in the packet?
I believe so.
Okey-doke.
There's an update on the October, the housing support hadn't transferred over. Also, the prescription care mark program, they have a new person, and so the actual original numbers were actually duplicate of September. So it's just a repeat of that with the updated information. As far as November, there was 38 people served. 15 medical. Most of those medicals are the lawsuits we received from the hospitals requesting county payment. We did have a savings of $14,000 on a claim case that we were able to find other services for the individual. Expenses was for housing, one rental for $350. Savings into the county is $17,000. Mostly, we're going to rely a lot on energy assistance programs right now. The FEMA funds came in last week, I believe it was, so that actually, ICAP handles that, and we're actually pretty grateful for that. We had one homeless individual that didn't fall under our needs, and so as soon as we got that, we could refer them to that program. November 16th, we had our Stepping Up meeting, and then Friday, January 12th, we have a Stepping Up meeting that's going to be pretty significant. It's at the Watertown Police Department Community Room. It's the final edits for the strategic planning, and that strategic planning will be what we will use to move forward with reducing the mental illness in the jail. So anybody's welcome to attend that. That's all I have.
What time is that meeting on the 16th?
Noon to 2. It's a working lunch. Bring your own lunch.
Community room there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right on the November on the bottom there.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Any questions for Sarah? Anything else? Okay, will you be able to hang around for a little bit till we get down to the burial?
Yes.
Funeral? Okay. Thank you, appreciate that.
sir.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Okay, let's go on then to number 8, action to designate legal papers for Cottington County publications. We have had 2 for many, many, many years now.
Those are the only 2 legal publications in Cottington County are the South Shore Gazette and the Watertown Public Opinion.
Make that motion.
So we have a motion by Hatton,
And second.
second by Van Duzen.
Sorry, Charlie.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Mr. Gable?
I vote aye.
Unanimous, motion carries. Let's go on to number 9 then, action to set commissioner salary for 2018. A couple of years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, we had, we always fought with this, you know, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? And so what the decision was is that we would go with the same increase as the percent or cost of living, the COLA for the employees. And that this year is that 1.5%. I'm open for suggestions. I'm open for a motion here. Anybody wants to make a motion? And if you remember correctly, we had a mailer, or we had a suggestion from Terry Satterley a week ago that recommended that also.
I would make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gable to increase the commissioner's salary by 1.5%. Is that correct, Lee?
That's correct.
Okay.
Keeping in line with the increase for all county employees.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any
Mr.
discussion?
Chairman, if I could make a comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Gable.
Yeah, just, I think it's important that we keep in mind that we're not just doing this for ourselves. We have to think about generations of commissioners later on, and we don't want to put them in a position of having to consider what would seem like an unreasonable increase. And so just keeping it in line with what we think is prudent for county employees overall might be a kind of a generally good policy to follow.
Thank you, Mr. Gable. Just for the general public's information, what is the salaries of the commissioner? What does the commissioner get paid?
Currently, the commissioner gets paid $1,791.74. The chairman receives an extra $100 per month.
So that was 1,791 and what?
74 cents.
Okay, so a 1.5% increase would be, I don't have my...
$26.88.
$26.88 increase. That's what that amounts to.
So is part of Commissioner Gable's motion to leave that extra 100 for the chair?
Okay, Mr. Gable, that's what your intent is?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Any more discussion? The only thing that I would add to what Commissioner Gable said is that the one thing that can happen, I know, I for one, I hate to give myself a raise or when you're on a board, but it happens that you start falling behind. And if you keep up with the 1.5% or in this case $26, $27 a year, it isn't such a big hit on the budget. And
That would be per month, I believe, not year.
Excuse me?
You said per year, but it's $26.88 a month.
Yes. So it's not such a big hit all at one time, and it keeps us kind of current. And I have not, to be honest with you, I don't know what the surrounding commissioners get in the surrounding counties. I've seen some of that data, but I don't remember what it is. I know some of the counties, they do get insurance in addition to what they do get paid. We do not. This does not include anything other than just the wages. That's it. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Anything? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Commissioner Gable?
I vote aye.
The vote is unanimous. The motion passes. Let's go on to item number 10. And that's act to set the compensation for the election judges in 2018. And I think we increased that, was that last year or 2 years ago?
It was not last year.
Okay, 2 years ago?
No.
And what is it now?
It's currently $130 for the election and $30 for attending the school. My recommendation is to raise that to $150 for the election and $50 for attending the school. After comparing what we pay, or after seeing how we compare to counties of a similar size, I feel the increase is justified.
I'll make that motion to.
All right,
concur
we have a
with the
motion by
auditor.
Commissioner Hatton. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And a second by Commissioner Gable. Any discussion?
Cindy, what is that school that you're talking about? What does that entail?
Before the election, I put on a schooling for all of the people who work out at the Ag Building. They come out, we run through all the forms that have to be filled out and what they can expect on Election Day, and run through the laws and everything on what should be followed.
Cindy, does that include mileage then?
The only mileage...
If they would drive in from excuse me, Henry,
No.
do they get mileage or is that included in
It's
there?
included in that $50 for the schooling. That it's included in that $50. The only mileage that is paid is on election night for the superintendent to bring the ballots to the courthouse.
And how long does a school like that take?
About an hour.
Good questions. Charlie, the one comment that I would make is that I know we were starting to get a little bit nervous last year in some of I know one of the special elections for sure, as far as finding people to work. And we're at that point now where a lot of the people that have been doing it for years and years and years are starting to retire. And
We need a new generation to step up and
yep, we need a new group of people to
take the
come in.
responsibility.
So if somebody is interested in doing that, they can contact you directly?
Yes,
Here
and
at the auditor's office?
they do have to be a registered Democrat or Republican according to state law at this time.
Okay.
And that's, thank you, Commissioner Van Dusen, that's a good opportunity to put out a plea for those that wish to participate and get involved to do it in this fashion. And it's quite an experience. It is a long day though. So, all right, any more discussion? Anything else? We have a motion and a second to increase the wage to $150 for the day of the voting and $50 for the school. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Mr. Gable,
I vote aye.
motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Gable. Let's go on to number 12, and this is the action to set the compensation for the coroner, and that is what? at
Number
this
11
time?
we're on.
We need to do 11. Yep, cell phone stipends.
Oh, I skipped them. I was moving along here pretty fast. Cell phone stipends.
Yep.
Okay, action to set cell phone stipends for various employees. What are they now, 25 or 35?
Nope, some are 20, let me pull that up. Some are 40.
40, yeah.
Yep.
When you find it there, who's getting 40?
Deputies are.
Deputy sheriffs, the highway superintendent, and the deputy highway superintendent. So the 4-H youth program advisor is getting $25. Director of equalization and the appraisal staff, $25. Maintenance, 3 members of the maintenance staff get $25. Larry Howard with the emergency management, he's the on-call person, he gets $40. The highway department, everyone gets 25 except the highway superintendent and the deputy highway superintendent, they get 40, and then our law enforcement officers get 40.
And the reason for that cell phone stipend is many of these people are on call with the county.
Yes.
So they're required to carry their cell phones with them at all times, right?
Yes. And the reason for the higher stipend is because they have smartphones.
All
They have
right,
the need for wireless or internet connection.
all right, you heard the explanation. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we leave the stipend the same as last year.
All right,
Go ahead and get your second.
and a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Van Duzen.
And-
Discussion.
The reason for doing this is because when we were audited, the state auditors want to see a list of the people who are getting the stipend plus the amount, so, yeah, yep.
Okay, any more discussion? Any other questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Mr. Gable?
I vote aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right, now we're going to go on to number 12.
Mr. Fay has.
Yeah.
That's a monthly stipend?
That's a monthly
Monthly
stipend,
stipend,
yes it
yes.
is.
Let's go on to number 12, action to set the compensation for the coroner. And currently that is at what amount?
$175 per investigation plus mileage.
What does that investigation entail?
Confirming that there is a deceased,
So when he's called out, basically.
when he's called out,
Anytime
yes.
he's called out.
When he's called out, yes.
And we just did
raise
raise that, I think, last year.
No, it's been
2
a
years
couple of
ago.
years since we've raised.
Time flies when you're having
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It was, I think, $100.
It was 150, and then we raised it to 175. So
Make the motion that we leave it at the same
We have a
rate.
motion by Commissioner Hatton to leave it as is.
Second.
A second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's go on to item number 13, discussion and action to set compensation for the planning and weed boards. The planning and weed boards.
Currently, the Planning and Weed Board members receive $35 plus mileage for each meeting they attend.
All right, you heard the explanation. I'll entertain a motion.
Make that
I would,
motion.
second.
Motion by Hatton, second by Charlie Waterman, Commissioner Waterman. Any discussion?
And that is to leave it at 35?
At 35.
Okay,
At 35 plus mileage.
yes.
And any more discussion? Anything else? All in favor indicate, yes, Charlie.
Maybe we should have the inboard from the weed chairman.
Yeah, that's fine. The only thing, like, we had brought up like a year or so ago, in case like an event, that they would go to the conference, you know, so they're gone all day. And so that, on those kind of situations where a lot of them are farmers or so, or they're, you know, some of them have somebody in the operation, but when they're gone all day, they're not part. And so that $35 gets pretty minimal when it's a, you know, 1 or 2 day event, but that's can be discussed sometime in the future.
We have a motion on the floor
And a second?
and a second to leave it as is. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, would it, just a question, would it be appropriate maybe on those days, those conference days, to have a different amount, to have a slightly higher amount? And I couldn't hear everything Steve said, he suggested an amount.
Well, that $35 is for that, for attending those meetings, right?
Correct.
Or did I miss something?
Just the-
So-
The weed board
But like it
meetings.
is, if they're gone, you know, a day or two away from their operations or their businesses, it gets to be, you know, usually it's just a meeting set, you know, where it's 1 or 2 hours, but sometimes when it's a whole day deal,
Well, you're talking about specifically attending like a conference? Is that what you're talking about?
Correct, yeah, just the thing that Steve was referring to, that's correct.
I know many counties run into this situation where their board members don't come or something like that because it really doesn't offset enough for whatever their business. You know, they probably could, but it's kind of a perk for them to be able to attend these functions.
Maybe that's something we need to take a look at.
It would be something.
That would be my recommendation, is to just to act on the meetings for now, and then you can come back and address
If you
a
want to do
longer,
something.
day-long meeting or conference.
Right.
All right, you've heard a couple of explanations here. Good discussion. Any more? Anything else? My only point would be is that we would strictly be looking at the weed board here, not the planning board, I believe.
No, this is for both
It
boards.
could be for both boards.
I mean,
It could be.
No, well, the meetings that we are discussing right now are for both planning and zoning.
Yeah.
Or planning and weed.
All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Pose same sign. Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's go on to item number 14, discussion and action to appoint members to planning and weed boards and 4-H promotion and expansion committee. We already heard from the 4-H promotion and expansion committee. Those names will be forwarded to Cindy. Planning, if you look at your handout, the list of the planning board members is on there. And we do have a couple terms that are expiring. And
I have an email from Luke. Rodney Klott and Charles Rosso are the two planning board members with expiring terms, and both seek to remain on the board.
good, so that's full board. And
So we would just, we'll take the planning board separately. We just need a motion to reappoint those two.
I'll make that motion to
all right,
reappoint
we
the
have a motion
current
by
planning board
Commissioner
members.
Hatton to reappoint the planning board members.
Second.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Waterman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Commissioner Gable?
I vote aye.
Motion carries. All right, now let's do the planning board.
No, the weed board.
Or the weed board. We did the planning board, weed board.
The expiring terms are John Conkey and Arlen Banky.
So far, I've heard no changes yet. I guess I really haven't contacted them. The only one would be is I would talk to John. I mean, he's attended one meeting this year. His farming operation has changed in the last couple of years, so it's a little bit tougher for him to attend, so.
So we don't have to do this today if Steve wants that opportunity.
You can delay,
I will contact
you can delay action on this one until,
All right, we'll hold off on the weed board. Get to us as soon as you can though, will you, Steve?
I'll have it for you next week.
Thank you. All right, let's go on then to number 15, which is action to approve commissioner board appointments. And that list is in your packet. I have had a request from Commissioner Van Duzen that he would like to get involved with emergency management. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And if you look on your list, Commissioner Waterman is on that committee. Would you like to step aside, or would you like to
I would welcome that as a co-train,
Okay. And I think that we can do that, can't we, Cindy?
yeah.
All right, so let's add Commissioner Van Duzen to the emergency management. Are there any other suggestions or possible changes that you might see on here? Anything else? Now, there is a commissioner board appointments, then also we have our responsibilities as representatives of the districts that we represent. And that's at the bottom of the page. Are there any suggestions there or changes that someone would desire?
I would make a motion that we approve the
All
board
right, we have a
appointments.
motion by Hatton to approve the
I would second that.
appointments as printed, and a second by Van
With
Duzen,
the addition of Troy on emergency management.
with the addition of Troy on the emergency management. Yep. Any discussion, anything else? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's go on to number 16, Housing and Redevelopment Board members and authorized chair to sign certificate of appointment. So we're going to do both of these with one motion, and in your packet, there's a list.
My term would have expired on the
Brenda's term
31st,
expires,
which
yeah.
I will agree to stay on.
Okay? Did you all hear that?
Yeah, I'd make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Gable,
I will second that motion.
a second by Commissioner Van Duzen. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Motion carries. Going to number 17, we have banks that we are going to deposit our funds to. And that's in your packet as well. All kinds of things that we got to take care of today. Everybody find it? The Reliant Bank will continue to be used for checking and the depositing of cash, and the other banks listed will be authorized to sell the county certificates of deposit and for investment at competitive bids. And these banks are Dakota Bank, Great Western Bank, First Bank and Trust, First Premier Bank, People's State Bank, Plains Commerce Bank, Reliant Bank, South Dakota FIT, and Wells Fargo Bank. I'll entertain a motion to acknowledge these banks.
So moved.
Second
We have a
that.
motion by Van Dusen, a second by Hatton. Any discussion?
Cindy, did you have anything to add?
Nope, that's pretty self-explanatory.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mr. Gable?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. I think we're getting close here now. Action to approve claims for payment. Do we have any today?
We have none today.
Hey, good. Number 19, action to set indigent burial fees. Sarah, would you please come forward and give us a quick review of where we are now and your conversation with some of the funeral homes?
Cottington County, we do pay a generous amount, we're the highest in the state at $39.52 for the cost of a traditional burial, $25.75 for a cremation, and then we also cover the opening and closing grave costs at cost. We don't discount that. Looked up some statistics the best you can. A lot of it is a little further outdated than I prefer it to be, but according to last year's funeral price survey, the average South Dakota funeral cost for an adult funeral is $7,775. This is based on the most commonly selected items for a traditional funeral. This includes a casket and a vault. It does not include the cemetery costs in South Dakota, a grave space, a grave marker, and opening and closing the grave, and that can be an additional $1,500 to $2,500. With South Dakota, or with Watertown, the cemetery provides the plot, and they also provide the grave marker, and that's about, in exchange, the county does the opening, closing the grave, so we get about 50%. So I do recommend that we keep that the same. With the cost of the average funeral, I did kind of do some checking around, and it kind of varies. I think the average is about $8,700 with a profit margin, so I do recommend that we still keep the rate that we have at $39.52.
What did you say was the traditional burial amount currently?
Of what we pay, or what the national average?
The national average.
The national average for South Dakota is $7,775, and that came up the same. Actually, that was South Dakota what they rated, and then the National Funeral Directors said $7,755, difference of $20.
And then the $1,500 to $2,500 was the
Cost of the grave space, the average cost of a grave space, the grave marker, and opening and closing of the grave. That's $1,500 to $2,500. I didn't check the costs of the plots here, but the city donates the plots, the city donates the markers. In exchange, the county pays the opening, closing the grave. In the past, it's been about, it equals that they're giving a little over 50%. So I think us to continue to pay the opening and closing of the grave. Cottington County is the cost of opening, closing graves in Cottington County is highest. So if it's a burial that's done outside the county, it's usually less than that. And they usually just send me what their rates are set. So I just...
So what what is the cost for the opening and closing?
I
that
believe
we're
right now
currently-
it's I'd have to look that, I think it's $655, but the city will be set to modify that usually at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
What was the cremation again?
$25.75. And, you know, it talked about some of the information to the cost of cremation. It said if no services are to commemorate in the deceased, a direct burial, direct cremation can be arranged for under $1,000. I disagree with that with the cremation part because we can't do that locally. So you're always going to have that part to transfer. But
Transport fees, et cetera.
yeah, and generally speaking, if we're doing a cremation, not always, but more often than not, there is probably not necessarily a funeral. Other counties that have done burials, that do them for Cottington County, they cut costs. By example, they just do the viewing beforehand, then the funeral right after versus like the night before and day, and that's within their abilities to do that. So
The last one we paid was to Mount Hope, and that was for $625.
I guess I have one clarification that I'd like. What do you mean by the national average for the state of South Dakota?
that's just what the national, well, there's two sites, well, 4 sites that I went to, and it's through the National Funeral Directors Association, but they say this is what the rate for the state of South Dakota is. And that's going to vary, it's going to vary significantly too with your overhead, just your overhead costs and things of that. So the more costs you have maybe for the building, the more costs, maybe the more employees you have is going to fluctuate those numbers as well. So we just took
Thank you.
So right now, the county is paying $3,952, is that right?
Yeah.
To the funeral home.
To the funeral home?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I get the bills, I look at the bills of what they say they would charge. It's roughly about 50%, not always, give or take, of what the cost would have actually been. Now, understanding it's a different casket the individuals receive and different things like that. Same with the cremation amount. Might be a little bit less, but just it can vary. Depends who does the cremation. For one, the 2 funeral homes charge extremely different in the cost of the cremation. So one's over.
Excuse me, Cindy, is this something we do need to do today? Because Troy and I will be meeting with Sarah to go over some of this information on our burials going forward, and I guess I foresee maybe some changes. So is it something we have to do today?
No, you don't have to do it.
I do want to point out there's a difference between policy and setting the rate. You can set the rate as is and still change the policy anytime throughout. So you can still work on the policy but still set the rate.
I think we want to wait on the rate, honestly, because there's some things that could be different. So I guess I would ask that we just hold off till some of this is all
Our
hashed
meeting is
over.
coming up real
Do we have to
soon,
make
so
a motion on that?
No, we can just delay until a future meeting.
Because it will remain what it is at this point.
Yes, we have a rate in place.
Yeah.
One of the other concerns that I have heard is that the length of time that between the funeral or whatever and the time that the funeral home receives the payment. And some of this stuff just takes time, because you have to sort through it, right, Sarah?
Right, but we did look back and pull the files, and the average time it takes us to decide a burial from the time we're contacted to determine is about two days, and so that's pretty efficient.
That's pretty quick.
Now, the last one we had worked with the funeral homes in before that we just said I needed to take it to the board, so therefore it did take longer. In the past, what they've always done is just treated it as a county burial, knowing that that's a possibility. That would be the only exception that wasn't included in the information we pulled forward, because I think we were looking at it before, but actually on that case, the funeral director didn't even want to make an application after the funeral, and we can't do that. So we have to have...
So, and that's Mr. Chair, that's the reason for the meeting coming up with Commissioner Hinton and I and Sarah and the funeral home staff is to try and streamline the process a little bit. So,
Okay, just so it's transparent, so everybody knows what's going on.
Yep.
All right, okay, when do you think you'll be able to come back with a
Friday. This Friday.
recommendation for the commission?
I guess it'll be 10. I still make the recommendation of $39.52. I think it's a very fair amount, very generous.
Sure.
So if anything on that,
The meeting's not until the 5th, so it will not get on the agenda for next Tuesday.
And I don't foresee it even, yeah, it's going to take a little time because this initial meeting is just Troy and Sarah and I, and maybe our state's attorney if she's able to get away. But we will bring the funeral directors in on some of this, which I foresee some things happening. So I
Okay,
guess
so when
it's
we-
indefinite at this point.
Get up and walk out of here, everybody knows what they're going to do, all right?
Yeah.
All right, thank you,
The
Sarah.
numbers will stay the same for now.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's go on to item number 20, review of delinquent tax lists.
I have the delinquent tax lists that were provided to me by the treasurer for your review if you want to look at them.
Anybody want to look at them?
They'll be available. It's a list of delinquent real estate and delinquent mobile homes as of December 31st.
And those also are printed in the paper, I believe, right?
Actually, no, we print those in December is when we print those, so we don't print them again after that.
Is there anyone
they
in
have been
this
anyway.
chambers today that wants to know whether their name is on the list or not?
It was
I can
already.
tell you that no one in this room is on the list.
Hey, so we're all in good standing.
Except one person.
Except
I'm not
one-
going to tell you who that
I
is.
figured it out, yeah. Well, I'll tell you, folks, thank you for paying your taxes and paying them timely. I appreciate that, and we all appreciate that.
We had an interesting week last week. Last year, we collected like $270,000 in advance property taxes. This year, we collected over $1 million. Everyone was very excited by the new tax plan that's coming starting January 1, so there were a lot of property owners who paid their real estate property taxes ahead. It was crazy.
Yeah. All right, any personnel changes?
We have one personnel change, and that is for Jared Olson, Deputy Sheriff. He is due his anniversary step increase to step 9.
Make that motion.
All right, we have a
Second.
motion by Hatton, second by Waterman. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 23, any old business?
We need to do 22.
22, personnel changes. We
No.
did.
No travel.
22 is travel.
Yeah.
We have one travel request. It's for the highway superintendent to attend the superintendent's short course in Deadwood.
That's an annual.
That's an annual.
I'll make that motion.
That's a budgeted item.
Yes.
You always got it in
Make
this
that
budget.
motion.
Yes.
We have a motion by Hatton, is that right?
Yes.
And
Second.
second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Commissioner Gable?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, now we're going to go to old business. We haven't been in session too long to probably create any old business. Is there any old business? Any mature business? Seeing none, is there any new business? Seeing none, is there anything for the open?
I'd like to add one thing for the open.
Yes,
I
Sheriff Brad, come forward.
just wanted to thank the commission for my, I finished my first year as sheriff now, after you guys appointed me last year. Just wanted to thank you guys for that, and I'm taking out my petition, and I plan on running for the sheriff's position
Good,
this year, so
good. So you are a candidate,
I am a candidate.
and I have already signed your petition. So if you wish to sign Brad's petition, look him up and get that done. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad. I've taken my petition out as well.
Anything else for the open?
I guess Lee and I will be meeting with some city folks on Friday at 10 a.m. To discuss to further discussion, I guess, of the joint city-county thoughts of building together. So we're working on that also. And then in the afternoon, it will be Troy and I meeting with Sarah on the burial situation. Other than that, I don't have any other thing that there could be a quorum of commissioners, and those wouldn't obviously be a quorum, but just a heads up. Lee, when is your next CJAC meeting?
Give me a second here. I want to say it's February 17th.
Okay, that is
So
the one I
that's
have.
February, and then we have the architect coming in. With my calendar here.
The 17th, that's when you have the January 17th, and it would be February 13th
Yeah, thank you.
as the CJAC. Okay.
So the one on the 17th of January, that's just the architect coming to do some more, probably the final session with the judges and the clerk of courts, the folks that actually use the space to finalize that plan. And then at some point, we would have to approve that plan as a commission. And then on the 13th is more discussion on the justice facilities overall with the CCJC. So that's
February 13th.
Thanks.
All right.
6:10 at the Lake Area Tech.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else for the open? I have not received any requests for an executive session.
Make a
Is
motion
there
to
any need?
adjourn.
Any
So
need?
moved.
We have a motion by Hatton to adjourn and a second by Van Dusen. Oh, Waterman. Commissioner Waterman. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you,
Thank you.
folks.
What are you just doing?
Just two
Friday.
things to sign.
Friday.
You're not easy today, huh?
Yep. I don't know if we've really